Do you want to stop doing this at the start of every game you play? Well, welcome back to the channel. My name is Invin. Today I am going to be bringing you guys a guide and some tips and tricks on how to win more Warzone games. Now obviously each lobby is very different in Warzone, but these tips and tricks are going to give you guys the competitive edge you need to win those extra gunfights, to get the advantage, get those wins up in Warzone. First thing we are going to discuss is positioning. Now positioning is super important in Warzone. It's one of the key elements that makes you have the advantage over your opponent. Positioning can be things like taking the high ground, so making sure you've got the advantage of peeking from the above and not from below, as it's easier to hit your shots from above and easier to get shot when you're below the enemy. Make sure that you've always got some sort of cover around you when possible, and if you are running from cover to cover, make sure you get there quickly so that you've always got at least one of your sides protected by a wall or by a barrier or by a building, for example, and then you can peek out when you need to from the sides that are necessary instead of getting open shot by everyone in the area. This means that you're not open to get picked off by enemy snipers or people rotating around you. You've got a bit of an advantage if people do try and peek you, that you've got that extra bit of cover, gives you a little bit of safety and means that you're going to win that gunfight. The only time positioning should be compromised is if you are intentionally trying to bait out the enemy, so either your teammate or yourself can get a better angle or shoot them from a different angle there, in which case positioning should be abandoned, and you can make use of doing bad positioning on purpose, but only if it's on purpose. The next thing is rotations. Now rotations are crucial in Warzone. You need to know where you're going and where you want to be moving. Usually these are determined by the zones and the circles and where they actually move to, particularly if you're playing on Verdansk, but also on Rebirth. It does dictate where you're going to have to move to, but a lot of players like to have a set path within these zones that they're going to go to. So for example, they might rotate through shops or through different buildings, different large area, high traffic area buildings, or different mountains where they can get the peak advantage, for example. So it puts them in the best position in that rotation, but also so they're ahead of the curve and can catch other players who are then moving out of rotation at the last minute or in a different time period to when everybody else is moving. So they're going to be in the middle of fields, in the open streets, making you get some very easy kills if your rotations are on point. Tied in with this obviously is map awareness, so looking where enemies are shooting from when red dots show up on the map, and also looking at where potentially if you've got a UAV or if there's any enemy vehicles in the area, looking at where they are and where enemies are most likely to be from this, and then rotating to a spot that gives you an advantage based off that information. The next one is communication. It's one of the most important things when playing in a squad in Warzone. If you have clear and concise communication, you and your squad are going to win more games. It's as simple as that. Basically, if you're telling your squad where you are, where the enemies are more importantly, and where you're moving to, they're going to be able to help you out. You're going to gain an advantage over the enemy as you can peek multiple angles at once, and it's going to make sure that your attacks are all coincided together to make sure that you do the most damage possible and take the least damage possible as a team. Along with this, if you do die and get upset, make sure to call out the enemy as soon as possible. We all do it, but just make sure to mute that mic so the teammates can continue and try and win that engagement, and obviously either buy you back, or if you're rotating into Gulag, which leads on to my next point of if you're in the Gulag, try to stay calm, although it can be irritating, particularly if the last death is something which you might not be happy with. Happens to the best of us, but just try and remain composed, as this is going to mean you're going to hit more shots in that Gulag and obviously get back redeployed into the battlefield, meaning you are going to get closer and closer to those wins. The next point is tactics and knowing which gunfights to actually take. So in tactics, it's all about whether the fight is a good one to take or not, and knowing when it is not a good time to take a fight and being able to move away from these dodgy battles. You just want to make sure that you're taking fights you've got the advantage in, and if you are pressured or pinned in, try to rotate out of these situations as soon as possible. When you are fighting against, say, an enemy sniper or an enemy team on another building across from you, for example, make sure to try and not repeat the same angle continuously, as you are likely to get hit here. Instead, try to rotate around or try to gain a different angle or different advantage point for you to peek over, as if you keep peeking the same one, they will eventually line up the shot if they haven't done it in the first couple and get that kill very easily. A good thing to do here is use equipment. If you are having to peek at the same window, for example, try and flashbang or throw a grenade over first and then peek, as you might catch the enemy off guard. The other things to remember here is when you have damaged an enemy, when you're using lethal equipment or when you've shot them, if you've got teammates or you're playing solo, if you know know that enemy or that squad is healing, push them while they're healing. They're going to be off guard, they're not going to be ready for a gunfight, and it's going to give you an advantage. And obviously conversely to that, make sure you are healing up when you can and get to a safe area to do this, because enemy teams will be using that exact same approach to push you. So they're going to be pushing as soon as they know you're healing, which again, you can use this to bait people out. You can pretend to shield and then pre-fire them if you're listening for steps, but obviously make sure that if you are actually trying to heal, you're in a decent location for that. And the final tip here is movement, so things like slide cancelling and jump shotting and knowing when to do each of these. This mainly comes through experience in the game, but movement is absolutely crucial to gain those wins in Warzone. This comes out for when to peek, when to hide, when to challenge gunfights, where to challenge the gunfights, and what positions will give you the best advantage for each type of movement. You need to make sure that you're in a good location to challenge the players you wanted to challenge, and if you're not, hold off until they move or till you move into a better position, and know when to shoot as well, because sometimes players will walk past and the rest of the squad will be lagging behind, and if you shoot the first man, the three behind them are going to shoot at you. So sometimes it's better to wait, let the players go past, alternate round to a different position, get the ones behind, and then rechal the first guy as you know exactly where he is as you've seen him go past the first time. Another really crucial thing on the movement base is to know what each of the materials sounds like when someone walks over it. This is going to help you in squads for your own teammates to know where you are, but also for when enemies are pushing you from a different location and you're using purely sound to work out where they are. If you know that they're walking over wood, which is in the upstairs office for example, you know roughly where that enemy is, so you can pinpoint that location and either pre-fire on the challenge or rotate round for a better position. I hope this guide has helped some of you out, and let me know in the comments how many wins you're currently on in Warzone. If you have got any questions, please feel free to drop them down below, and if you've enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe on the channel, as it really does help out. Thank you very much for watching, and peace.